Most people think danger is loud. They imagine shouting, sirens, chaos. But some of the worst things happen quietly, in places that look normal, feel calm, and don't give you any reason to panic until it's too late. This story is based on real patterns reported by travelers who stopped in the wrong place at the wrong time. Towns that don't appear on maps, where the rules change after midnight. What you're about to hear isn't about monsters or jump scares. It's about what happens when a town decides it won't call for help anymore. No one ever realizes they've entered the town. There's no sign, no warning, no change in the road dramatic enough to remember later. The only thing that changes is the silence. The background noise you didn't know you were listening to just disappears. Daniel noticed it somewhere around 11:40 p.m. He'd been driving for hours, cutting through rural roads his GPS promised would save time. No traffic, no radio signal, just darkness and headlights stretching endlessly ahead. When the town finally appeared, it didn't look abandoned. That was the unsettling part. Streetlights were on. Buildings were intact. A diner glowed softly at the corner of the road, like it had been waiting. Daniel didn't feel afraid yet. He felt relieved. That was mistake number one. The diner was open, which already felt wrong. Inside, only a few people sat spread out like they were intentionally avoiding each other. Everyone looked up when Daniel walked in. Not curious. Not surprised. Measured. The woman behind the counter poured him coffee before he spoke. He didn't remember ordering it, but exhaustion makes you polite instead of suspicious. The clock above the counter read 11:52 p.m. Daniel asked if there was a motel nearby. The woman shook her head. Not anymore. That answer hung in the air longer than it should have. When Daniel mentioned sleeping in his car, the man at the counter finally spoke. You don't want to be outside after midnight. Daniel laughed, because people laugh when they don't understand what's being implied. Is this one of those local joke things? He asked. Nobody laughed with him. The man leaned closer. If something happens here after midnight, we don't involve the police. Daniel frowned. Why not? The woman stopped wiping the counter. Because it... No traffic outside. Just breathing and the hum of fluorescent lights. At exactly midnight, every street light outside flickered on at once. The woman met Daniel's eyes. If you hear knocking, she said, don't answer it. Daniel left without finishing his coffee. He locked his car the moment he sat down. He didn't remember deciding to do it. His hands just moved on their own. The town looked different from inside the car. Flatter. Closer. Like the darkness was leaning in. Daniel reclined his seat and told himself he'd leave in 10 minutes. Long enough to rest his eyes. 5 minutes passed. Then he heard footsteps. Slow. Unhurried. They stopped beside his driver's side door. A shadow blocked the streetlight. Then a knock. Soft. Polite. A man's voice followed. Evening. You're not from here, are you? Daniel didn't respond. The voice sighed. They never do. Daniel's phone vibrated. There was no signal, but a message came through anyway. Unknown number. Stay inside. Do not respond. Do not drive yet. Another knock came, harder this time. You can't sleep here, the man said. That's not how this works. Daniel's hand shook as he typed back. Who is this? The reply came instantly. Someone who answered once. Outside, a second set of footsteps joined the first. Then a third. Somewhere in the dark, someone laughed. Not loudly. Just amused. Like Daniel had finally done something interesting. The voices outside didn't rush him. They spoke casually, like people discussing plans. One of them paced behind the car, footsteps crunching on gravel Daniel hadn't noticed before. You know, one voice said. Last week someone answered the knock. Nice guy. Thought we needed help. Daniel squeezed his eyes shut. He made it halfway back to the diner before he realized something was wrong. A pause. By then it didn't matter. Every footstep stopped at once. Headlights appeared at the end of the street. A car rolled in slowly and pulled over near the diner. A man stepped out, stretched, and looked around like he'd finally found somewhere safe. Daniel watched the figures move toward him. The man laughed at something one of them said. Daniel wanted to scream. To honk. To do anything. His phone buzzed again. Do not interfere. They only take one at a time. The laughter stopped abruptly. The man's car door was still open. The street went quiet again. Morning didn't arrive all at once. The darkness thinned reluctantly, like it didn't want to leave. When Daniel finally dared to move, the town looked peaceful. Normal. Almost innocent. The other car was still there. Door open. Keys on the ground. No sign of the driver. Daniel started his engine and left. He didn't look back. Daniel reported the incident later that morning. There was no diner on the map. No petrol station. No town where he described. Just an empty stretch of road. Weeks passed. Then months. Daniel searched online and found fragments. Old forum posts. Half-finished threads. Warnings written like jokes until you read enough of them. One comment stood out. If you're there after midnight, you're already involved. Daniel replied. How do you get out? The response came hours later. You wait until they choose someone else. Others had stories too. A trucker who heard knocking from all sides at once. A woman who slept in her car and woke to fingerprints on every window. A man who answered and was never seen again. One post mentioned police. A former officer claimed reports near that road were marked resolved without dispatch. No unit sent. No follow-up. When he asked why, his supervisor told him, some places aren't ours anymore. He quit shortly after. One encounter ended worse than the others. A woman named Claire broke down during a storm just before midnight. She made it to the diner soaked and terrified. She begged them to call the police. They refused. At 12:06 a.m., the knocking started. Witnesses later said they heard screaming for less than a minute. Her car was found the next day. Engine cold. Doors open. No police call logged after midnight. Daniel doesn't drive at night anymore. He stops early. Keeps his tank full. Avoids quiet towns. Because he learned the rule they never say out loud. They don't hunt. They don't chase. They wait. And if you stay long enough to hear the knock, it means you've already been noticed. Some towns don't call the police after midnight. Not because they don't need help, but because by then, it's already too late. If this story unsettled you, that's a good thing. Because the most dangerous places aren't the ones that look abandoned. They're the ones that look normal enough to trust. So next time you're driving late, and your instincts tell you not to stop, listen to them. And if you ever find yourself somewhere that feels too quiet after midnight, don't wait to find out why.